Good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. It's Palestine here. I'm just making a follow-on video from the video that I made this morning when I was at the hospital. And I was just thinking about it. I was thinking about how I was laying on my bed, watching a YouTube video because after the hospital appointment, my boyfriend and we got something to eat in the dining facility, but I gave my boyfriend part of my baguette, and then I had a couple of biscuits because I wanted something sweet to eat, even though I'm diabetic. And then so basically, he had an appointment at 3 o'clock at FedCap, which is this charity that's supposed to be helping him get a job. But that's another issue that I cannot go over in YouTube. It's his personal business, and if he wants to talk about it, he can. I cannot talk about it other than to say he had an appointment at 3 o'clock, and then he'll be coming to my place later. And the reason why is because even though my apartment is tiny, it's a little bit cleaner and well kept than his apartment, and I don't like going to his apartment because it is so far away. It's a minimum of a half-hour walk from me, and normally you can take a bus to get there, but you've got to walk to the bus stop and then take the bus to another stop and then still walk to the house. And I remember a few years ago I had to stay there for a week, and the reason why is because they were remodeling my kitchen and my bathroom. And somebody told me that where I live, they were supposed to make arrangements for me to stay somewhere while they were remodeling the apartment, but they didn't. They just made me find some place to stay at my own expense. So I stayed at my boyfriend's mother's house for a week, and then I stayed at my boyfriend's house for a week. So if I didn't have my boyfriend's mother and I didn't have my boyfriend, I would have had to stay in a hotel because I would not have, any place to stay while they were remodeling the apartment. And they didn't make any provisions for me at all. But that's another issue. And so basically, I was at home just laying down on my bed watching YouTube videos. But when I did get home, I made a couple of videos on my other channel, because my other channel is a data science channel. And what I'll have to do is, at the moment, I'm making videos about visualizations in the R programming language. But at some point, whenever I finish making all the videos on the visualizations of our programming language, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a Kaggle competition, because Kaggle has a playground competition every month. And so I've been doing these Kaggle competitions ever since 2000, when they started having them. And another thing about Kaggle is I don't use Kaggle so much anymore because I'm studying other things, but I still do the competition every month. And then I make a video of the code that I used, and then I also make a Medium publication blog on the code as well. But not as many people are using Kaggle anymore, and Kaggle is now more like a training site for people to learn data science. And they do have competitions, and competitions that you can win money on. But the thing is in order to collect the money, you have to be in the United States. And I can't go to the United States because my passport has expired. Not that I would win one of their competitions anyway. And so basically my passport's expired. So let's say hypothetically I win a competition, I would have to get a new passport to be able to go back to the United States because my passport's expired. I can't go there on an expired passport. They would let me go into the country on an expired passport, but they wouldn't let me leave. And I live in the UK now. And also they've got this business with ICE, and I've heard that ICE is even picking people who were US citizens and deporting them. So I'm a little bit apprehensive about going back in that kind of environment. So I guess I have to stay in the UK the rest of my life because I've got my UK passport, but my American passport has expired. And so I was laying down after I did my 2 videos for my data science channel, and I had a sandwich that I bought last night, or my boyfriend bought it last night for me, and I had only half of it last night, and I had the rest of it when I came home. And I was laying down and I was thinking, I'm so glad that I don't have to take time off work. And the reason why is because I was really worried about what's going on with my breast. And I know that this bad news that I got financially in December, that it wasn't my fault. It was the fault of 2 organizations that I don't want to name on YouTube. One in particular I don't want to name, but I don't want to name these organizations on YouTube. But basically what they did is they caused me financial problems. These financial problems have still not been resolved, but because I've got money in savings, I'm able to live on my savings while this situation is going on. And I still am not being communicated with by this government organization that's supposed to be helping me. I also sent an email to my MP, that's Member of Parliament. I haven't heard anything back from him. So what I have to do is I have to wait until the end of February. And at the end of February, I have to when I get my next pay statement, I'm going to go back to a charity and ask the charity to help me. And the reason why is because the government is just not even paying any attention to me. They've just blown me off. And so they'll pay a little bit more attention to me if I ask the charity to phone this organization on my behalf. But I was thinking today, and I was telling my boyfriend, because he went to my doctor's appointment with me, that I'm glad I don't have to take any time off work. Because if this problem with my breast had been serious, i.e. if the cancer had spread, which we don't know that the cancer hasn't spread, because the only thing they've looked at is my breast. They haven't looked at anything else. So we don't know that the cancer hasn't spread. But so far, we're just going to work on the assumption that the cancer hasn't spread. So I'm really pleased that I don't have to take any time off work, because if I did have to take time off work due to the cancer coming back or spreading, or having to take chemotherapy or radiotherapy or having another operation, I do believe that it would be used against me. And people are really naive. A lot of people don't tell their employers that they have cancer because they don't want their employers to know, because it will be used against you. And people are really naive, because apparently there's this woman at a handout I go to. She's a volunteer, and she has this really rare kind of cancer, but it's a slow growing cancer. It's a very rare cancer, like in her back or in her endocrine gland, in her glands, but it's a real slow growing cancer. And she said just as soon they found out that she had cancer because she had followed fallen off a horse. And when she fell off the horse, I think they gave her a CT scan or something like that. And in the CT scan, they found lumps. Okay, so the American doctors who are paid via insurance wanted to investigate these lumps that they found on the CT scan. And but then she went back to the UK where she lives, and then she took the CT scan to the UK doctors, and the UK doctors are not paid via insurance. They're paid via the government purse. And so the English doctors weren't really concerned about it, and they were just saying that the American doctors were overly concerned, because obviously the American doctors want to get as much money as possible, so they want to find as many things wrong with you as possible so they can get as much money as possible. But the UK doctors are different. They don't want to find a lot wrong with you, because if they find things wrong with you, they got to treat it, and that's coming from the government purse. And I made a video a few days ago discussing how the government hospitals, the national hospitals in the UK are paid for. They're paid for with national insurance contributions, and so they don't go around looking for things wrong with you, because they don't want to spend the money to treat you, so they only look for what they have to look for. But this lady, I guess she pushed the issue, and she sort of like insisted that they investigate these lumps that they found in this CT scan that she had been given in the US. And when they investigated the lumps, they found out that she had this cancer, and she said the name of the cancer, but I think it's a cancer of her adrenal glands, but I think it's also a very slow growing cancer, so she's not in imminent danger of death, even though she does have cancer. And she told me that as soon as she found out she had cancer, she emailed her manager and told her manager she had cancer. And she said that she did that because once you tell them you have cancer, they can't fire you. That's not true. They can get rid of you. They can get rid of you if you have cancer or any other illness. And basically, what would happen is you'd be sent to occupational health, and then occupational health would have to do an assessment about whether or not you could do the job. And then so if occupational health felt that you couldn't do the job with cancer, then they would write a report saying that you couldn't do the job with cancer or whatever illness it is. And then so it would take a while. They wouldn't get rid of you right away. If you've got cancer or any other long-term illness, they wouldn't get rid of you right away. But eventually it would go through occupational health, it would go through human resources, and then if they deemed that you could not do the job, then they would terminate you from the business. Now, they might let you retire on ill health. They might let you retire on ill health, but you would be removed from the business. And the reason why is because businesses don't want to have a lot of sick people on their books. So if you have a long-term illness and it doesn't look like it's going to get better anytime soon, then they will, especially if they're not that keen on you, they will remove you from the business. It takes them longer to do it. And I do know of an instance with this one woman that she had leukemia, and I think this also was during COVID. And because she had leukemia, she had to stay isolated for a really long time. And she was able to go back into work after that incident. But it also because the management liked her. But if your management doesn't like you, they will find a reason to get rid of you. That's what they've got human resources for. Human resources is not there for the employee. Human resources is there for the business. But human resource has to be seen to be supporting the employee. But if they want rid of you, they will do it. And so that's why I'm so glad that I don't have to take time off work. And the reason why is because I'm the only one that does that job. So let's say hypothetically I had to have chemo. Okay, well, if I had to have chemo for a long time, I'm the only one that does my job. They would say, well, we need somebody in to do her job while she's in chemo. And so that would cause problems. Or like when I had radiotherapy, I asked to have radiotherapy in the morning so I could go to work after I finished the radiotherapy. And I was late for work a few times after I finished the radiotherapy. But that's what I asked for, to have it in the morning so I could go to work after I had my radiotherapy sessions. With chemo, it would be just a nightmare because apparently when you have chemo, you have it for a really long time. And so when I had my radiotherapy, I only had to have 8 sessions. But if I had to have longer than 8 sessions, I would have had to declare to my manager that I was having to have radiotherapy because, you know, if I'm late for work, they want to know why I'm late for work. The same with chemo. I don't know how long it's going to take to get chemo because it depends on what kind of chemo you're having as to how long it's going to take to get the chemo. So some chemos can be half an hour, whereas some chemos can be like 8 hours. And then you have some chemos that are oral, that are tablets that you take. So if I had to have chemo, I would rather have to have it in a tablet form. But either way, you know, if I have to take time off work to ill health, then I would have to declare that to my managers. They would send me to occupational health. Occupational health would carry out an assessment to see if I was capable of doing the job. And so I just don't want to go through all that. I've been through occupational health before when I was in the hospital before because I was unjustly sectioned, and I do believe I've made videos in the past about that incident, although I don't talk about it a lot. And they weren't very nice to me when I came back, and so I'll never forget the lack of support that I got when I was unjustly sectioned, and that has affected my whole relationship with my working environment. And because I wasn't supported and I wasn't taken seriously, I wasn't listened to, now I just go into work, I do my job, I'm really quiet. If they speak to me, I'll speak to them, but if they don't speak to me, I'll just sit there and quietly do my work. If I want to take a break, I look on my phone, or I might look on the internet, but I don't engage them in any conversation. Or if I do, it's not very often. I don't want to give them any reason to say anything about me. And I do know that if I had to declare to them that I had cancer or any other long-term illness, I would be sent to occupational health, which is something I don't want to do. So the gist of this video, although I've talked a lot about a lot of different subjects, is that I'm really happy I don't have to take time off work, and I don't have to declare to my employer that I have a long-term illness. So I can just keep on going into work and do my job as long as I possibly can. So that concludes this video. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. I'll be making another video for you on Monday after I've had an injection in my eye, and I don't know how that's gonna go.